Oh hey, this day I'll be trashing Citizen Kane, which was directed by Citizen Kane himself, Orson Welles. Citizen Kane is generally considered to be one of the best films that was ever made in 1941, and though its director went on to make many far more successful films after his freshman effort behind the camera, critics of today still agree that Citizen Kane is definitely one of the 10 best films ever made by Orson Welles. The film opens with a certain dying old citizen's final parting word, then goes back to tell his life story from when a prepubescent Citizen Kane was sold into luxury by his destitute parents to a posh tosser in what amounts to be a truly creepy transaction, especially given today's stance on child trafficking. When he comes of age, spoilt rich Citizen Kane decides to start a newspaper empire because he thinks it would be fun, like he's a Kardashian or something. His newspaper is founded on grandiose journalistic principles, which unsurprisingly ends up sacrificing in his pursuit of money and power, along with the opportunity to exist in dubious social circles, and he ends up dying a very lonely, pathetic senior citizen. Kane. Kane's dying word at the start of the film is Rosebud, which is the raison d'etre of the whole picture that no one in the film is ever able to decode, but we as the audience discover in the final scene that Rosebud was the name painted on the abandoned sled of Kane's childhood. This shows us that his greatest regret besides the loss of his innocence was the loss of his favourite sled. And herein lies the problem. If he wanted a sled so bad this whole time, why not just go out and buy a brand new one along with a fresh tin of paint and write whatever the fuck you want on it? Hell, paint it an actual colour for all I care. It's a shame really, because Xanadu looks as though it would be perfect for the cutting of some crisp fresh pow and the potential construction of a luge course. Plus it's got a massive walk-in fireplace, which would be perfect for sitting around at the end of the day showing off bruises and swapping tall tales of the slopes. And if it was but a question of miserly frugality that prevented him, Kane could have used any one of these ruined bedroom furnishings to hammer together a halfway decent sled. Jesus. This guy's a goddamn wrecking ball. Lastly, the one structural gripe that I have with the film is that it has a very clear point of view throughout, which is missing from the closing scene. Not a problem really, just not super clean filmmaking. But I don't give a rat's ass about that kind of stuff. Just enjoy the film, I say. But only if you enjoy it my way. Good night. In that last video, I used a film term without stating its meaning plainly because I'm an elitist. Raison d'etre basically means what it sounds like, raison d'etre. The phrase came into use during cinema's infancy, when popcorn wasn't the biggest seller at the concession stand, raisins were. And if a film didn't have a strong primary premise that propelled the plot at a pleasing pace, the audience would grow bored and start throwing raisins into the projection booth, which would really gum up all of the expensive equipment and ruined many a film reel. However, if a film was able to hold its audience's interest, it was said to deter raisins, and when the phrase gained popularity in Tinfoil Town, the Hollywood foreign press transposed the words, and started saying it in a French way to make it sound wanky and cultured, like they'd thought of it first. Cinema owners and ushers alike begged the studios not to make such terrible movies lacking a good raisin deterrent, but Hollywood never did listen. So instead the cinemas replaced raisins with popcorn, which was cheaper to produce and caused less damage to the projection equipment. Then they jacked up the price of butter and dried up corn to ensure that audiences would think twice about wasting such precious, precious edible gold. The fools didn't realise that gold and dried up grapes are the same when the lights dim. Worthless if you're not stuffing them into your face tirelessly. That's why so many terrible films get made these days. They forgot that they need a good raisin deter. So the next time you go to the movies, bring a box of raisins and sit up the back with me. We can laugh snidely and talk throughout the picture.